Boom, baby, we're live. Bitcoin all-time high, 124,000. What a time to be alive. Once again, we are going live when Bitcoin is breaking a new all-time high. Ethereum is about to hit $5,000. We have so much insane setup for Ethereum, altcoins, and the way things are looking. Steve's going to talk about it because we got some big rate cuts coming as well. Last time the rates got cut, Bitcoin went up 40% each time. And that was last year around this time. Maybe Big Daddy Trump and the favorite gay man of my life, Scott Bessent, maybe they're running it back. Maybe they're saying, hey, last year we did it. Let's just do it again. I'm just so excited because, guys, the Q4 pump is 100% going to go down. And we're going to break down and talk about all this right now. We're also going to cover some altcoins that are really going to be doing so hot. And we're going to talk about how Bitcoin going up is causing a lot of crazy stuff and what's going on with Ethereum in the ETFs, and as well as crypto Twitter has never, ever been this excited about Ethereum since 2021, and we have it on the Kaito AI software. All of the metrics are showing us everything is getting ready for a tremendously huge Q4 pump. Unfortunately, I lost all my cryptocurrency because I'm a degenerate boater, and it was a devastating accident. Steve is my sugar daddy. And so he's paying for everything that he's supporting me.
Wait a minute.
He's a silent partner in the Tokyo crypto shows. So we outed you now. But Alex is going to go into depth with the charts, and we have so much crazy stuff to show you guys. So let's just jump right into it.
It's all popping off. Here we go. So now I can finally change this one, which I've had for 4 months up, and then the 5th one pending. Now officially we are 5 months up. If we look, we got 5 months up the last time. So we're starting to think that, are we going to have the end of our weekly cycle? One more drop before we go up again for that October top. So whilst we're all very excited for Q4, and do we think the top's in? For many reasons, not yet. We still could experience between now and the final top, a 20% decline in Bitcoin. So just keep that in our minds. Whilst we are looking forward to more positive action, that doesn't mean we're only going to exclusively get positive action. So monthly, still looking good. We've got, when I say Peter case, that's Peter Brandt. You might have seen, we chatted about last week, his Bitcoin banana zone. But all of these sort of targets are, cup and handle. They are, we've done some sort of Fibonacci thing. We did some sort of Ganfan thing. They're all kind of just guesses. These are just kind of placeholders. The important thing is Bitcoin is at all-time highs, which means that the sky is the limit. There is no sort of resistance to speak of because it doesn't exist. We've never actually been there. So very positive on the monthly chart. Still looking very good. Weekly chart again. Boom, there it is. We closed, and this is very clear on the daily. We closed yesterday. And by yesterday, I mean the official sort of 1 hour and 11 minutes ago, we closed higher than this highest price that we've ever gotten. So it's not that we wicked higher than it. It's we literally closed the day high. We had the highest close ever in Bitcoin 71 minutes ago. So that's really great news. This blue, this was the previous weekly cycle. So we can see we are starting to get closer to that topping area that we got last time. So whilst, once again, we're very excited, it's all looking good, this does not mean that it's just going to be nothing but go up, 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 up. We could still get a drop. Now, a 20% drop from here is only towards sort of the $100,000 level. It's actually not that, crazy. We're at 100 grand. So if we keep going higher, a 20% drop could just bring you down to 109. But as we get to the end of the bull market, and this is probably best seen on the daily, we start getting more drops that happen very quickly, but are much shallower. So we start getting, here's a drop, and you go, well, that looks like a big drop. That's just because the scale's very big. We get little drop, but we get these big jumps. Little drop, but a bigger jump. So you're going to start seeing that more and more as we get through. More volatility pouring in, this, that, and the other. So the 5-minute chart is now our chart to watch. When we're looking for the top of the market, this is where you get your exits. You start looking for a breakdown on the 5-minute chart. Then you start looking for a breakdown on the 1 hour, 4 hour, such and such. You see the daily, da-da-da-da-da. Same thing when you're looking for a bottom. You kind of go on the 5-minute chart. You see, okay, this is a good candidate. And then you see what it does next. And then it turns up on the 1, on the 4, on the this, on the that. So for Bitcoin, you can see if we keep moving out, like it is just all of yesterday, just up, 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 up. And so right now, anyone who's saying, quickly sell, it's an all-time high, it's the end. Well, the 5-minute chart is still, is this really a big low that it's broken? Kind of not. So we're sort of still making these higher high, higher low, high, 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 low, high, 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 low. So it's up. The 5-minute chart is up. There's no warning signs to say time to get out, aside from us feeling excited. Because Ethereum, boom, here's the 5-minute chart. We sort of have stopped here, but not really. The whole day, if we zoom out, daily chart, Ethereum's just chugging up. Look at us. We're at the top part of the range, all looking good. The more we zoom out, the better it looks. So we've just had this on a tear. We're scratching on all-time highs. This is the Binance chart. It had the all-time high at 4876. Other charts are at 4950. But the important thing is we're kind of there. You might think we'll get a throwback back to 4,000 or so as some sort of like pierce up, throwback, off we go. But given all this strength, we literally could just charge through. Where does it go from there? Similar to Bitcoin, there is no resistance because there is no price to counter resistance. There's just our best guess. So some people saying, $8,000. Some people saying $12,000. You're just making shit up because we don't know. We can sort of speculate based upon, various kinds of analysis tools.
Let's talk about what we were talking about last night on the meeting, Alex, about the 1 trillion.
Yeah. So, well, a lot of that was based on our targets for total crypto market cap, which as of today has been making new all-time highs as well. And how we identified based on various sort of little things, cup and handle things and all sorts of stuff, that about 5 trillion was a level to watch. And so if we only got to 5 trillion, I say only, that is only an increase of about 22% on the total crypto space. And that includes stablecoins. And stablecoins don't push price up directly. The more liquidity there is, the more price goes up, but they're not sort of directly buying the asset. So with that in mind, a 22% increase, if that's all the money, another $900 billion only, then if that's all the money that gets spread around, then how high can lots of cryptos actually go? And so the answer is not much further from when they're at. I think we were looking at, say, if Bitcoin was in the 140,000 region, Ethereum was in the $8,000 region, then it's kind of like that's all of the money. So we'd have to go even higher. And once again, no resistance. So we kind of have to play it level by level as we go through. Solana had a good performance yesterday. Look at this, bang. But we are still sort of hitting the underside of here. We've really got to get above before we can keep pushing up. I think, do I have the Solana ETH? Yeah. So Solana right now is the better play. Ethereum is the better play over Solana. Not to say Solana's going to do anything bad. It's just we can see that there is sort of this longer term downtrend that is appearing between the two assets. So if we get a good price to sell out in, and then you wanted to get into Ethereum, sort of any throwback now for $4,000 for Ethereum is a really good buy. This is still looking very bullish across the board. So once again, it's a bull market, so dips are to be purchased. I had a look at Fear and Greed. That's at 75, which is greedy, but not overblown. And we are expecting at the end of the market to see sort of 80 plus, kind of more 85 plus. So it's all looking very good. There is no warning signs aside from the fact that we're happy to see prices at all-time highs. So, you just kind of got to sit there. But everyone should already be in. That's kind of the thing. I know we've been saying that for weeks. Like, you should already be in. Last week, Ethereum was 4,200, 4,700. I think actually one thing to point out is $4,723 seems like a big number. But when you're trading between different assets, I encourage you to just pretend like this was like $4.70. And the difference between $4.70 and $5.50 is not, it's not a ridiculous amount. So people are losing their minds over the thought that we could get $5,500 Ethereum, but it is only a 16% change from here. So kind of grounding yourself in the percentages, because we were talking about this yesterday. People will see Bitcoin's at like 124,000 it hit today. Like that's a big number. Whereas Ethereum, that's only 4,700. So imagine if Ethereum gets to 124,000. Like people are going to start thinking like that and just like throwing all their money in. It was the same thing with like XRP and all the memes about XRP to $10,000. And it's sitting there going, you do realize that $1,000 XRP is like more market cap than all of the assets on the planet. And people just don't get it. Like it literally, that's not how it's going to go. But it can still go well. And if you're in Ethereum now, you probably were in at, probably closer to 1,800 or 2,500 or 3,500. And so, you're still looking at 62% in, this is 25 days. What, 62% in 30 days? Thank you very much. So we haven't blown off. There's not crazy mania, but there is a bit of froth coming in. So this might be heralding the end of our weekly cycle to set up for the final one in Q4, which might actually pose a good sort of de-risking opportunity for some people. We're not there yet, but broadly, it's all looking really good. Did you have, is there anything I've missed, John, that you want to go over?
No, not really. That was really thorough.
Yeah, like it's all looking good. If anyone's in the chat has any questions, just drop it in and we'll go through because, yeah, it's looking good. It's looking good. But the big thing is there's no warning signs yet. Nothing has like, huge volume spike on a candle that says, all right, shit, we better get out of here. The only thing is that, once again, we're starting to feel a bit excited. So we might have some sort of local top going, but go with the trend. Go with the trend. The trend is up. So your first thought should be, how could this go further as opposed to, is it topping and going down, basically?
Yeah.
So,
we got a comment in the chat, and I want to bring Steve's attention to this because Steve also helped us with the analysis on this company. Because as you guys know, Steve is an actual fucking genius. And remember when we talked about what was going on with GALA, Steve, when we did the analysis, if we should get back, you guys understand. Let me tell you something. What we did, you're looking on the screen at a very small part of a 17-person research team that has been put together by me exclusively from all men from our community. And we had done a in-depth comprehensive analysis on the last 2021 cycle coins, and we came to an extremely unanimous decision that GALA was a hard no. Steve, you mentioned about there was infighting between the founders and lawsuits going on, right? Is that what you told me?
There were. There was infighting between the two founders. Both of them had a little bit of a sketchy, unconfirmable background. The other things that they also had like sham random celebrity endorsements. I used to think that was a good thing when I first started getting into crypto, but actually in our research, we found that both companies and coins that rely on celebrity endorsements tend to more often than not turn out to be scams. GALA was also promising everything up and down from like, I don't know. I mean, this is such a long time ago that we were looking at this, but they were talking about like a GALA movie theater production, GALA video games, GALA this, that, and the other all at once. Even if you were to run a normal company like that, its stock probably would not perform if it tried to do that many things at once most of the time. It's considered unproductive business. They prefer specialized businesses, and GALA, again, lawsuits, sketchiest celeb endorsements. I think it was like Snoop Dogg, and then promising everything and more. Just a lot of red flags across the board.
Yeah, and they had to reset the whole thing, didn't they? Because the founder sort of ran off with a bunch. And they kind of went, oh, now we're moving to GALA too. And
yeah, I just remembered as well, they did this huge token burn. I think it was the May of 2023. And the coin fell after they burnt a huge number of the GALA coins. So, yeah, no, it's not a project that I give much trust to.
Yeah,
that's a ghost from the past.
That was we came to a really, really unanimous decision on that, and here's the main reason why too. Okay, if you click on the all history of GALA, and this is what it did last run, and it has not surpassed that, that's a gigantic red flag. And I'll just show you a little like a very elementary example. We'll just look at Solana, for example. When you click all on Solana, you see this past top was here, 236, and then we have surpassed it this run. Actually, we went up to around the Trump pump was about 290, right? I think that's all time 290 and change. Yeah, 294. And so that being said, you know, when you're looking at a coin, look, man, it takes a lot of power and strength for a crypto company to go from one bull market to the next bull market and surpass its previous market cap and price. That being said, that was like an initial buffer that any of us had. Anything that didn't pass its all-time highs this run around, we just didn't even touch it. Even when we were back in December 2023, when we made this judgment call, the big problem was that all the legal stuff that Steve found. Steve, I would never have found that. That was all Steve that found that. And then another big red flag right now, guys, is what I like to call reactivity. Alex probably has like the proper term, but I'll just tell you like the degen meme coin genius term. But like basically when Bitcoin goes up, like you want to see the coin react and go up with it. And when Bitcoin goes down, you want to see the coin kind of react and go down with it. If it's unreactive, that's typically not necessarily a good sign, in my opinion. And GALA didn't show any of those signs as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can give your comments on Illuvium, Alex. I know what you fucking hate Illuvium.
Look, I think that, you know, it soared from like $11.40 to like $11.42. Like, it's crazy, man. The gains are nuts. You know, it was only, you know, $17.50 last cycle. You know, it's that was, yeah, yikes. I think for the terms of reactivity, I like the word reactivity. Actually, I think people just lump it as like correlation, but
yeah. But yeah, that's exactly why we should stay away from that. And also, I know Sonic had its little, like when Phantom did its little rebrand, it popped. But again, like if you have to rebrand your crypto, like something's wrong. Like Coca-Cola didn't go through a rebrand. Pepsi hasn't gone through a rebrand, right? Nike is not rebranding. Apple is not rebranding. Okay. Twitter rebranded because Twitter before sucked. Now Twitter's X is fucking amazing. You know? So typically when you have to rebrand, just not something that's, you know, good, because a rebrand is like, you know, something went wrong. Like that's the only reason you got to do that, you know. And Illuvium, that's been a scam for the longest time. Again, if you got burned in the last bull run by a coin, jumping back in with it, it's like just like going back to a girl that cheats on you. Like, okay, it's gonna happen again, you dumbass. You know, so don't do that. We have been waiting all year, Steve, for these fucking rates to get cut. I want to hug Jerome Powell. I just remember live on YouTube. I can't speak my real thoughts, but I think you get what I'm saying. This motherfucker, bro. I like that Trump put him in a humiliation ritual a couple weeks ago, made him put on the helmet when they're on the construction site for the building. The whole world hates this man, I think. Who's making money on keeping these rates high, Steve?
Some banks. Because, you know, depositors. You know, if you want to just hold the cash and not dare take the risk of, you know, making investments in this kind of thing, why not just put a bank deposit? It's what a lot of Japanese people do.
Yeah.
But really, the reason why they're doing it is, in theory, keep rates high. The amount of loans being sent through the economy goes down because people don't want to finance at those rates. And in theory, inflation will fall. And that's what they're relying on.
Well, I mean, the CPI came out. Let's talk about, look, if you guys know the stock market, Steve, he's everything. He works for an investment firm. Stock market, everything TradFi. Listen, we understand now, especially with the Trump administration coming in, there is going to be a bridge, and it's already happening between TradFi and crypto. This is how we get that boomer money. If you want to get a revenge on boomer, buy Bitcoin. Okay. But that being said, these are super intertwined. Last time in the previous bull run, I used to make fun of TradFi. I didn't understand the deep intricacies of it. And then I was lucky to meet Steve in Tokyo. He actually came to me for coaching, and we're like brothers now. We've punched each other in the face. It's good. In kickboxing gym, nothing violent, you know. But Steve, you're crushing it this year in stock market land. You're surrounded by millionaires all the time. You got so much good info. Drop it on us, big guy.
So the really, really good news and the key thing to take away for today is that headline inflation came in at 2.7% beneath the expected 2.8%. And headline inflation was also 2.7% in July of 2024. The reason why that's a good thing is that now tariffs are in play. So despite tariffs raising the price of everything, at least theoretically, we're still having the same inflation rate as last year, which was, of course, a tariff-free economy. So if you really think about it and want to dig into almost the can of worms, if you will, really inflation is falling, because if we had no tariffs still, that headline figure would have been even lower. So that means that the economy X tariffs is really still going through more of a deflationary period compared to at least years before. And of course, always having things be better than what the economists are saying is always nice. And then with inflation falling visibly, or at least staying stable, if you will, if you want to compare the 2.7 from last year, that raises the odds for rate cuts. The market's beginning to price in the chance for rate cuts. As you mentioned earlier, Scott Besson also came forward today and said that he wants to see rates come down by 150 points, or 1.5%. He is the Treasury Secretary. They might be inclined to listen to him. In theory, they're not. But it's good positive pressure. Historically, in July when they had their meeting, for the first time ever, two other Fed chairs went, or not Fed chairs, Fed vice presidents went against Jerome Powell and said that they wanted rate cuts, when usually it's a unanimous vote. So that's also a good sign in the favor of rate cuts. So long and the short of it, to conclude, I'm expecting Q4 to be a total blast. I'm expecting probably maybe 2 or 3 rate cuts this year, given that the crappy job sprint that we had. Maybe we have some fall down in August and September, just because that's what those months historically do. But the year is going to end higher no matter what. And it wouldn't necessarily surprise me if we just blew through August and September with more growth. But guys, my majority opinion, if you will, I'm more expecting for there to be a pullback in these months. Just hold through those pullbacks. They don't really mean anything. A lot of it's just profit taking because people want to have stuff ready for their taxes. Expect Q4 to be a blast. We got it.
Steve, you're getting better, bud. That's great. And I want to just add to what Steve said. So Steve, I'm going to need you on this because I want to double check. Okay. But the next the Federal Reserve is going to have their next meeting in 34 days. And this is the official CME group. And they have a 93% chance that we're going to go to 400 to 425 basis points. Currently, we're at what, 450?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So looks like, they're talking about 50 basis points have been floating around. Have you been hearing that anywhere in particular, Steve? Or
yes, I've heard people talking about a potential for a 50 basis point rate cut because the fall off in jobs was really violent in the most latest print. It was just shy of being negative. It's like 10,000 jobs over whatever that number was. It was really, really, really close to being net zero.
And that's when they fired that woman. They fired the woman from the Biden administration who was fudging them. You think she was doing it on purpose, or she said it was a mistake, or what?
My guess is that they're being a bunch of dumbasses and they're looking at LinkedIn postings that are really dead. They're looking at Indeed postings that are really dead, and that they're probably all 65 and can't figure it out. Like, I'm not even kidding. I think they're just not able to. Because the thing is, if America got caught like red-handed faking the GDP print or like jobs data as like China does, shit would sell off overnight. There's certain things that, who are really in charge need to keep like transparent when it comes to that kind of thing. That one I don't believe the conspiracy theorists on. Everything else though, I'm in line.
Yeah, it's just seeming to me that like, I don't know if they're putting it on human error or if it was intentional, but I know she was fired. She was a Biden era appointee, and we've kind of seen in the headlines what's been going on with all these Biden era appointees during this administration. A lot of them get fired. A lot of bad stuff is happening. Like we talk about the ladies that were the three gay ladies that were the head of the LAPD fire department, and they didn't have water in the fire hydrants. So she apparently, she was a Biden administration appointee, and she just got fired for messing up the numbers. So I think, well, I don't even need to say think. Like, we are most likely going to get rate cuts in September, right, Steve? What would you say?
Yes,
100%?
pretty much 100%. If
Yeah.
they don't, then my formal position will be bearish even into Q4. If they dare do that, I mean, they're really wanting to play with fire if they choose not to cut rates.
Well, Trump's money man. He knows.
True.
Cheap money is what makes this thing go round. And then, so also going back to that, the last time they cut rates in September was last year. I remember rates are just typically for TradFi, but Bitcoin went on I believe it was a 40% run. It did a big one. And then when the rates got cut again in November, another was like 42% run. I know that also Trump did win the election in November, so you have to factor that in as well. But ultimately, when we look at rate cuts, we can't say we can't say it's a bearish thing. I mean, it's good for us if you're holding assets, which I'm not, everybody else is. So I'm really excited about that. Okay.
We got a rate cut. We got a rate cut in Australia as well this week. So
aren't you guys at like 1% down there?
No. We went all the way back up to 4s, and now we're like 3.75.
Okay. Yeah, I think the whole world is pretty much cutting rates except for America is not.
They kept them too high for too long. So everyone started now feeling poorer. They're like, wait a minute, I feel poorer, and they're like, oh shit, we better fucking lower these things.
All right, here's what I'm going to talk about, guys. So, Alex, did you share the ETH BTC chart when you were doing your analysis? Did you share that? Because I want to talk about a couple things here regarding Ethereum, because this is really important. Because the bottom line is this, and this is the most important part of the show moving forward. This is where you're going to get the most alpha. If you're in alts, which is pretty much everybody, but if excuse me, if you're in alts right now, it is 100% up to Ethereum if we're going to have a legitimate good alt season. Okay, what we're going to be seeing right now, what I have been noticing, I'm going to break it down right now, but I personally believe we're going to hit $5,000 Ethereum next week latest. Couple things I've noticed. I'm just going to talk about it real quick. So during the bull market, this is a pattern that veterans really know. Okay, for some reason during the weekend, typically on Saturday night and Sunday night, Eastern Standard Time, USA, Bitcoin typically pumps. And it pumps and it pumps and it pumps. And then Monday morning, like right after the bell hitting 9:30 when the market's open, it starts to dump down. That exact same pattern has now been happening with Ethereum. And the ETF inflows have also completely flipped. Ethereum, a couple days ago, literally 2 days ago, had the largest day ever of inflow. $1 billion of inflow. We're going to pull that chart up real quick, but first we're going to show this too, because this is the most important metric, I would say. Right, Alex? Oh, you muted, mate.
One of these days I knew I'd do that. Here we go. So it just shows Ethereum now outperforming Bitcoin. We had this like absolutely disgusting run for such a long time, but now we have very definitive, like, here we go. We had a low, we came up, consolidated, came down, broke up above it. Here was a key level. We've closed above it. This is the weekly as well, so a longer time frame. Well and truly, this has an established low in place. So now we can start building up and moving forward. So even if we come down to retest, we can keep just going up. And where will it go? Well, unlike the Ethereum chart and Bitcoin chart at close to all-time highs, where there's now no longer resistance for their asset themselves, when it comes to the comparison, we got lots of levels here, which can serve as some logical spots. So you go, is it going to outpace it by 20%? Is it going to outpace it by 30%? Is it going to, come all the way back to the top and outpace it by, 130%, a 2.3x? Who knows? We play it level by level, but this is looking very, very positive between Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ethereum should continue to outperform.
Is that red line the 200 EMA?
So that is, yes, it's the 200 week moving average. So we've still got a lot of time while the 200 will just stay above, probably for the remainder of the market, really. I don't think they're going to go up, but we might see the 20 overtake the 50 and off we go. And that's just because we had years of it just dying in the ass. So, it's no surprise. These are generally a good indicator, sort of the moving averages, but they're always lagging. So they're never, because you have to wait until after the price has already done what it's going to do for these to catch up and reflect that, you can see sort of here when you had the stack of the 200 on the low, 250, 20, that's when it was making its all-time high peaks here, or for the last market anyways. So it's really good. Really, everyone is just goo goo gaga on Ethereum, and that's wonderful because as soon as Ethereum pauses, that's when, historically, all the money starts flowing into the alts. People start, boom, 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 boom. So I think people are finding, Bitcoin once again, like I said with Ethereum at $4,000, treat it like it's $4.70, right? So they're going to treat 123,000 as $120, and they're going, well, what am I going to get? $120 to $130? Like, that's not much. That's not like a huge percentage increase. I can get a lot more in this new Ethereum thing, or I can get a lot more in this new Mamo thing, which, this is something we've been looking at, or I can get it more in Useless. But I mean, that's on Solana. But people start looking for these other kind of higher beta plays, they say, as we go through. So, all in all, Ethereum looks like it's going to keep going compared to Bitcoin at the very least. So it's good.
Yeah. Well, I think what I tell the research team and stuff too is that thank God that we have the ETFs, because it's such a, in my opinion, a very powerful newer indicator regarding price action and the assets, which the main ones we talk about are Ethereum and Bitcoin, because those are the two biggest one. And if you really want to be like total, conspiracy theorists about it, BlackRock has only two crypto ETFs, Bitcoin and Ethereum. BlackRock runs the world. Okay. Larry Fink is the real president of the United States. And they don't make mistakes. They don't, as a company, they're incentivized to do one thing and one thing only, which is make a bunch of money. And like I said, the inflows have just been astronomical lately. Give me 1 second. I don't know. This is trying to, okay, this 1 second.
There's a few questions from Ruthless Viking.
Yeah, go ahead.
So ETH has more room to go up, but what would be the behavior of Bitcoin if ETH gets a big run? They can just continue to go up in tandem. So you might actually see that there's no real change in the ratio between them. But we also note that in general, when Bitcoin finishes peaking, the alts usually get another 30 days of action. So you might find that when Ethereum goes on a bit of a tear versus Bitcoin next, that's kind of the end. Like Bitcoin's topped and now Ethereum's running. But just because Ethereum's outpacing Bitcoin or nothing's happening with that ratio doesn't mean Bitcoin's topped. They can still just keep kind of going along. Or Bitcoin moves to $140,000 and Ethereum moves up to $12,000. Who knows? But Ethereum could significantly outpace Bitcoin, but they're still both going up in a very meaningful way. So it's kind of, we just have to wait and see. But you had another question earlier where you were asking, when should I sell out? Are we getting 130? Are we getting 140? Are we going to get, like, when does this market finish? And I might actually, John, just share quickly a little, fun little graphic.
Gotcha. There you go.
We just see people have been talking about this idea of symmetry in the timing between different cycles. So these are all of the Bitcoin 4-year cycles that we've had so far. And we're currently on cycle 4. We see how many days that we had between the low and the halving, and then how many days between the halving and the final top. And the last two markets have been kind of consistent, like not exact, but only a few days here and there either way. And so depending on, if you were to apply this kind of framework to this cycle at 516 days, you end up getting on the lower end, the end of August, the middle, you get middle of September, so like 18th of September. So like about 23rd of August, 18th of September, or on the far end, you get 16th of October. And we've been saying that, in that window, we have been operating at the final top. We would expect it to be around, and obviously this can change, but we expect it, and we've been saying this for, over a year now, really, to be in the latter end of October. So if we, obviously, some people call in, we're going to get all the way to March next year with $300-something thousand Bitcoin. That was lovely.
Yeah.
We can only play it level by level.
Super cycle. Super cycle. Super cycle.
So we kind of have to level by level, but our best guess is really we're getting the timing window is literally next week till the end of October. So I sit there and go, okay, well, maybe we get the weekly cycle top at the end of August, and then we come down, and then we have the big final, ejaculation of price that gets us to the end of October, and then that's it, finished. But technically, there is a chance that we could literally top next week, and that's the end of the 4 year. That's it. So that's why we have to play it level by level. But we will be seeing, like, if next week we're topping out, you will be seeing insanity. So that should be relatively easy to check in. Once again, unfailing. This is the most success rate I've ever had with an indicator, is when I feel like checking my portfolio balance. It's always like every fucking time. So he was Peter's Bitcoin banana I brought up last week. And his has a target of 146 up here. I don't know why I put a sad face, but that's it. But basically, once it breaks this, it's over 2. So his target up here of in the 140s gets us to that September to October level as well. So we've just got a lot of different people all saying stuff that all aligns around October. So we shall see how we go, but for now, and I'll say it again and again and again, there are no warning signs today. Today, we're breaking all-time highs, and we're going to see where we get to. I think that if it gets really hairy, it might be worth taking some off the table, next week or on the 23rd, which is about 10 days away. So we shall see. But it all depends on what you're trading plan in. Your trading plan is the most important thing. The price almost doesn't really matter. It all just comes down to what's your plan. So you can start raising stops up if you like. For instance, if you thought, 135 we might get, but I'd be happy with 120. Well, then you can move your stop to 120. It's a bit close to where we are now, but
oh shit! Sorry about that. I was
prepping
something. So yeah, phenomenal explanation there. And I want to talk, because I was talking about the ETFs, the Dune that I wanted to load. The guy stopped uploading it, so it was like an error. So let me show you guys what I've got cooking right now. And here we go. Okay. So first things first, this is the Ethereum inflow. Okay. And this is the Bitcoin inflow. So this is on the last month, and then we're going to switch this here. This is the last month too. But if you just zoom out real quick, okay, you just click on the 12 months that's Bitcoin, and you click on the 12 months, that's Ethereum. So it is very, very, very sparse. It's virtually non-existent until right around here. I personally believe, because we had crypto week, that was the official thing in July from the 14th to the 18th, right? I think it started leaking that these politicians were going to pass these bills that are all related to crypto. And you can see here, these are when the Ethereum inflows started to pick up. Like, as you can see visually on here, it's pretty good. Around here, this is when Trump won his presidency. So everything was going crazy because Bitcoin was going crazy, but nothing like over here. And on the 14th is when it started to get picked up. And then this is when it passed. And that's when we had a gigantic day on the 16th, $726 million. And then the next day, 600 million. Like, again, these numbers were never seen before. And then this was literally on the 11th right here. And there was $1 billion all in one day to the Ethereum inflows. Okay, guys, $1 billion in one day is a lot of money. That is a tremendous amount of money. And $1 billion doesn't just flow to a useless asset. Well, there may be one. There may be one, which we'll talk about later. But the Bitcoin, so I just wanted to show you guys. I'm going to go back to these explanations. And guys, let me know if this is valuable in the chat, because I see we actually have really high viewership right now, but the chat is like not moving. That typically means that people are really paying attention. Yeah, so let me know what you guys think. So anyways, let's go to the 1 month here. So this was pretty good for Bitcoin. On the 11th, it had $1 billion day. And again, BlackRock was the largest purchaser right there. And BlackRock, like in my opinion, BlackRock is not buying something in July to sell it in August to scalp a couple thousands of dollars or even millions. That's not how these big players think. They think in the terms of billions. Because in BlackRock, billions is only, and I think they're the largest asset manager in the world, right, Steven? Don't they manage like what, 13 trillion or something?
In that ballpark.
Yeah.
Last I checked, it was 12.
There you go. That's a lot of money, right? So on the 11th here, prior to crypto week starting, they had $1 billion. And let's just go ahead and take a look at Ethereum in the same in the month. So during that same time, you can see there was nothing, right? But that's actually pretty ironic. They've completely inversed on these two charts. There's $1 billion on this end, and then Bitcoin, there's $1 billion on this end. And you could see this also in the Bitcoin dominance and the Ethereum dominance charts. Alex, can you pull this up and if you have a moment there? Because I want to keep going through my little thing here. Another thing that I want to point about that's really jumped out to me about Ethereum is this. So as you guys know, this is Kaito AI, okay? And this is an aggregate for all of the cryptocurrency conversations going on. So even this very moment, ETH is at the top. Bitcoin is typically always at the top. Bitcoin is at an all-time high right now, but the world of crypto is still talking about Ethereum. And this is some new data that just hit our desk. And this was something I really wanted to show you guys. So as you can see here, this is the all-time high right now for Ethereum being talked about on this software. And like I said, that's been since its inception. This was at 17% earlier today. Typically, it's Bitcoin at the top at around 14 to 13 to 12%. I have never seen Bitcoin go as high as Ethereum, except for one day when Bitcoin went to 100,000. It was 25% for everybody. So right now, despite Bitcoin ripping it, everybody's talking about Ethereum. And here's another thing that's connected. So this is the narrative mind share. And the whole time, AI has been number one. So 30% of all the crypto people talking on social media, I think it's crypto, Twitter, and some other stuff, 30% of them are consistently talking about AI. Now, number two used to be memes. That was 2024 when Solana was there. It's been DeFi, and DeFi has not been this high up in a while. And DeFi was as high as 22% recently. It's recently been kind of trending down, as you can see on this chart, but it was at 23%. So when you think about Ethereum, the only thing you think about is DeFi, because that's what it built on. We had DeFi summer 2021. You know, the Ethereum history is extremely deep, and they were truly like the darling child of the 2021 bull market. But the markets have definitely taken a turn towards Ethereum once again. These are some polymarket targets real quick, and then Alex, I'm gonna let you show that. So this is current polymarket targets as well. What will Bitcoin hit in August? This is really gigantic activity. And the reason I'm bringing up Bitcoin is because there is a hierarchy in crypto. Bitcoin is number one. And I think it's safe to say Ethereum has rightfully reclaimed its number two spot. You know, they're talking about it. And a lot of the majority of the money stored in crypto is on Ethereum, the TVL. It's like, I think it's like $50 billion. These two things that we're going to put on the screen now, this is Ethereum dominance. And it's like, you can see it's inversing to Bitcoin dominance. So it's
yeah,
going up.
let's see. I'll bring up the Bitcoin dominance as well because that one's a good one. So Bitcoin dominance probably has topped for the cycle. Here we go. We vomited down. It started to come back up a bit, but bleh, once again. So as a part, like you see earlier, we got low and then it has recovered. But now it has just broken down. That's like officially breaking down time. So we'll see how low it goes. But the race on ploymarket was, will it hit, 65 or 60% first? And the 60% first people, would be very happy with themselves right now. Ethereum dominance, you see, we got all the way down here 7%, and now like it's doubled. That's crazy. And not a very long time at all.
I think it's going to reclaim the 200 moving point average. I was telling that to Derek.
So 16 and a half, 16.7. This is coming down. So by the time it gets there, 16.5%.
Yep.
By October. Totally. Very reasonable. Something that's not so reasonable, actually, I saw in the chat, Vic Bish, it's very probable now that this cycle continues into 2026 Q1. It is not very probable that happens. If we get to December and we're still going crazy, then it's very probable. But right now, it's possible, but I would highly avoid saying things like very probable. You will get wrecked. But yeah, this is looking really good. This is looking very good. We want to see it going up. I mean, even Sol dominance is kind of, it had its time, nearly 4%, and now it's just kind of dicking around here. You might say, oh, it's building its way up. Maybe that might just be the whole market's going up, so there'll be more Solana, and maybe it comes, back up to the 3%. Who knows? But what we do know is that Ethereum dominance is in an uptrend. Ethereum versus Bitcoin is in an uptrend. Ethereum is in an uptrend. So that's all looking good. If you were looking for a major asset, Ethereum is definitely the strongest play out of the top 5. I mean, BNB. I'm not a big fan of BNB, but BNB also is doing fine. That's doing quite. I shouldn't say fine. It's actually doing quite well. If you just have a quick look, we've got some people might say, "Oh my God, double top," but remember,
they call it the Chinese. They call it the Chinese Ethereum too. So I agree with you that it's going to go up. I agree with you.
Yeah. So people, some people already are like, oh my God, it's good double top. It's just, remember where we are right now. Everything's making all-time highs at the moment. So it's more likely to continue being bullish. So this literally could just, we could come back, have a throwback, and boom, off we go. Boom. Last week we were talking about targets in the low thousands. But once again, if you sit here and go up to $1,000, 17%, whereas we can see more juice, so to speak, in, say, Ethereum. And so you go, well, why would I be in BNB if Ethereum is just, by all metrics, is absolutely dominating? So you got to sort of sit there and go, where is my money best served? But, this is still looking good. Yeah. I'll just jump back.
No, it's good stuff, man. We're going to continue because I guess I have a lot more. Okay, so here's the big picture that I'm looking at right now. After looking at the previous bull market, I think that with the trend of these BlackRock and these institutions buying Ethereum, like I said, they don't make mistakes. And these people think in business terms. So they're trying to get their money in by December, right, Steve? I think, do these firms operate like that to some degree? Like they try to clean up the books by the end of the year?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that was pretty evident in last year, 2024. But this is the that was the first year we had a full year of ETFs, and they went crazy in November. Now also Trump did win, so it was hard to. But even then, the Ethereum wasn't getting that much as the Bitcoin ETF was, and then Bitcoin's price blew through 70, 80. 90, had a little resistance, and then boom, 100,000. That's when we were live on the Tokyo Crypto Show here. I was in Tokyo still. I think Steve, maybe you, Steve, were, well, no, you're out by then.
No, I was back in SF.
Yeah. But that was explosive price action to the end, and then of 2024, and then historically, every top has come in Q4, and then Bob Lucas talks about the 4-year cycle. It's been pretty evident so far, and there's no reason to think it's not going to happen again. The thing is this too, we were talking about this. I was telling just the research group, unfortunately, the more people that join crypto, like it's going to be more dumb people. And so like, there's going to be more bad information floating around. So, you know, you gotta just be like intuitive on your own and like study the markets, know the markets, like by participating in them. Because there's like an intuition you can develop with crypto as you like continuously trade on. So we think that Ethereum is going to go to 1 trillion, and that's going to put it right at $8,000. In order for that to happen, we asked Grok, the AI, question, and then this is what we came so far. So we basically asked it, how much money would all the ETFs, not including all the Bitcoin treasury companies that are buying so much money right now worth of Ethereum, like hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. We said, how much money does it need to flow into Ethereum through the ETFs, these measures, to raise it to $1 trillion market cap? The answer came out to be if there was a 22%, if there's a 22 multiplier, 28 or 20 billion. If there's a 17 multiplier, 27 billion, and then 30 multiplier, 15 billion. That is all completely, totally possible because last month alone, $6 billion just from the ETFs flowed into Ethereum. And I just think this is a big narrative change. I think it's something that crypto needed because that crypto was beaten down and the narratives were really shitty at the beginning of the year. Q1 and Q2 were really bad. People were like, I thought the whole goddamn thing was over. My morale was in the trash, you know? But we're also at all-time high with total crypto market cap. So last thing I'm going to show you guys is a series of things that have been happening this week. So I'm going to show you some of these coins. This is a meme coin called Troll. This has had a crazy run. Okay. If you just look at the market cap here, it started at $12 million and already it started on the 422 and now $241 million. That's totally insane. So the prices start out here, you know, basically 2 pennies all the way up to 24 cents. You know, that's a 12x in 3 months. This is happening all over crypto. It's happening with a meme coin called SPX6900. I was talking about that. And it even put out there's a coin that came out, we were making a joke about it earlier, called Useless. And this is a meme coin that says this coin is completely useless. They have a website that is totally hilarious. And they say, welcome to the Useless coin. It's the world's first cryptocurrency that promises nothing and delivers exactly that. Zero purpose, 100% useless, the world's most honest cryptocurrency. Click here to learn nothing. And then this is like, they're making fun of the white papers that come out because there's a lot of things that happen in crypto. People promise you everything and, you know, they take your money and then the project goes under. That happens all the time. But if you look at this here, this coin just launched on basically I got June 19th, June 18th, 9 cents. And then it was peaking here around like 44 cents on the 28th of July. So again, like a quick 4x, and that is, you know, $400 million into a fucking meme coin called Useless, where they're like, there's no value to this thing. That tells me there's so much fucking money in this market right now. You know, there is just a lot of money. And this is launched by the Bonk team. I think this is going to hit $1 personally when the mania and hysteria picks up. So obviously not financial advice, but if you're going to pack your bags, you know, the time is now. And then Q4, we're going to be here and let you guys know what you got to do. So that's the show. Any of you guys want to say anything in closing?
Code G Money. He's just got, oh, look at that. I don't know how I do this. One day I'll figure it out. Should we still hold our soul bags? I would say if Solana loses $180, and then it's kind of, it's not gonna get there. So that can be a good, just sort of, yeah, let's fuck off now. In terms of, you know, Solana, Ethereum, you don't want to chase a pump, obviously. So it might just be the case of, I mean, some good advice that James, and we haven't seen him for a little while, but good advice he had was, you know, what was your trading plan? Execute that. So if you're going to get out, just get out. then you can always make a new plan and get back into something else and redeploy. But instead of sort of like, I have this Solana idea and now I'm going to jump into an Ethereum idea, like finish that thought, close that out, come up with your new plan and go in. If Ethereum's going up to $5,500, next week and continuing up, you can hop on CoinGecko and you go, yesterday, Solana's jump up sort of made the last week of price action between the two sort of comparable, really. So although you would have made a little bit more in Ethereum, not a whole bunch more depending on what that might do tax-wise for someone, for instance. Because sometimes people have been holding an asset for a while, so they'll get a discount when they sell out. But then for Ethereum, they won't get that capital gains tax kind of discount thing. And so you end up being like, well, Ethereum has to actually outperform by a considerable amount more in order for it to actually end up giving me more money at the end of the day. So that's stuff that you have to kind of calculate first, and then make your decision, as opposed to going, everyone's talking about Ethereum, so I'm going to sell everything and just put in Ethereum. Because the time to do that was when, we were at $3,500 and it was all looking like it was going to go up. So we are where we are, but once again, in terms of that move from 3.5 to 4,700 that we're at now, and where Solana was at 150 to 200, you're looking at actually quite a comparable amount. So it is looking like Ethereum will continue to follow its trend of outpacing Solana and outpacing Bitcoin. And so it just comes down to, is it going to outpace by such a meaningful amount that you need to adjust your trading plan? And that's something that you should look into the chart and decide for yourself, depending on your scenario. So my answer is maybe. But yeah, that's funny. But I would say if we lose $180, because that's like a very solid level that we've been sort of dicking around at for a little while. If we now we're at 200, I want to see over 206, and that means now we can go for all-time highs. But if we don't get over 206 and instead we go back to 180 and then we lose that, then it's time to just bugger off, in my opinion.
It's so basically.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
So just giving them the hopium they want. We give you the permission to be degenerate, guys. But listen, here's the bottom line. Ethereum has waken up, and the bottom line is that means competition. So Ethereum is only $170 away from its all-time high that wasn't touched since 2021. And everybody's been making fun of Ethereum. Everybody's been shitting on it, saying, "Oh, there used to be memes of like Ethereum, like and it had a little dick," and like people were making fun of it. The memes were people were ripping Vitalik and just making fun of him endlessly. But now this thing is going to go to $5,000 bare minimum. I personally believe I think it could hit $1 trillion market cap because the ETFs already did it with Bitcoin. It seems to me that they've shifted their focus. It logically makes sense. There's more money that's gotten to go into Bitcoin. Therefore, it's going to take more money to, make more X's. When you can just go right down to Ethereum and say, fuck it, let's run, and if you think about the fiat money game, they need to inflate assets to keep this whole Ponzi scheme going. And we're at 2.5 trillion. This is only at 571 billion. Also, in July, when all this Ethereum news came out, Ethereum started getting some price action, and then all of a sudden Ripple gets an all-time high, and then BNB gets an all-time high, and then Solana didn't get all-time high, but it did go up to like 200 in the 200 range, like it is now. So all these other coins started popping off because they can't be, as a company, you can't be outshined by your competitors too much. So I think it's waking a lot of competition in the market. I think we're going to see a lot of positive price action. And this shit has made me excited and happy. It's so fascinating to watch. I'm just fucking crypto nerd, but I love it. This is a good time. And what's that?
Oh, I'm going to bull post a little harder. There's a few more indicators that I could show on the TradFi side of things. None of these are perfect, but they're very correlative. If you look up the Cboe VIX index, it's currently going much lower. We're now, let's check where we're at. Okay, so it's at 14.49. The lower the Cboe VIX index is, the less fearful the market is and the more risk on we're getting, right? So compared to former months, even just earlier in August, it used to be at 17.85. In July, it traded regularly around 15 to 16.5. In June, it was north of 20. You know, if you go back all the way back to April when everything was like completely going to shit, it was as high as like the peak was 52.33. That's when it was like maximum fear. But now the Sabo is regularly going down. It's not a perfect index. It doesn't control for the impact of what's called futures. So if I buy a bunch of calls or a bunch of puts, it won't impact it. What the Sabo VIX index measures is total market like volatility and the total volume of trades that's going on. It's usually considered the more of that that's going on in TradFi, the worse off the general market is. If everybody's just holding their positions, people are happy with what they got. Going past from the VIX index though, despite the stock market pretty regularly rising throughout July and now I guess early August, the 10-year yield's coming down. The 10-year yield is coming down.
Hey Steve, are there all-time highs being made in stock and TradFi? I forgot to ask you that.
Pretty regularly. Yeah. No, the
Recently?
S&P 500's hitting. Check. Let's see what.
Because I think gold was on a little bit of a mini bull run too. If you're looking at all, and that's why it's good to be kind of well versed in all this stuff because you can see, exactly what's happening across all investment spectrums.
Oh, it looks like the all-time high might have been set today, actually, for the S&P.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Today, really?
Yeah. No, today. First thing in the morning.
There you go.
It opened. It went down a little bit from there, but nope, it's at the all-time high today. And then, I guess, last but not least, I'll also remind you guys that oil prices have been falling a lot, and we need that to have lower inflation. Maybe that's why we had that 2.7 print. I expect oil to keep falling. OPEC wants to output more oil because they're sick of constantly restraining their budgets and restraining the amount of oil they make. They're now trying to do a drown out the competitors strategy, so that's going to collapse the price of oil. If we're really, really lucky, we may see an end to the Russo-Ukrainian war sometime within 2025, maybe early 2026.
Yeah.
So, good news there too.
That I think if we're going to talk about a Q4 catalyst and wars and BlackRock and everything, I think like if the Ukraine war ends in Q4 miraculously, because it seems to me that they are getting closer to a resolution under this administration. They were even talking about it recently, and if that happens, because typically when war ends, the market soars, right?
Yes. And oil would fall off a cliff too. So much of oil's current support is just because of the Russo-Ukrainian war. It helps a lot if Russia's burning a lot of the oil that it makes for war machines, or that if Ukraine's driving around tanks all the time. Not only that, but in general, when investors are more fearful, the price of oil goes up in general. What if a new war starts that blocks off a supply chain and so on?
Well,
we'll see.
Guys, there's just a lot of positive news across the spectrums here. Not financial advice, but if you do know what you're doing, you can make some money in this atmosphere. But I think with Ethereum going up, I think listen, Solana is a centralized cryptocurrency. It's a controlled asset. I think that they're going to intentionally run Solana up as Ethereum goes up because they have to, like, as a competitor, because there's no lot of fairness in this market. Like, a lot of this stuff is heavily manipulated, especially because it's not as regulated as TradFi. There is some degenerate shit that goes down in crypto. The wild, wild west. But
there's been more suppression than forcing up things so far. So we should have a bit of go juice. I just wanted to quickly say, just get this in.
Take your time, both of you.
So Ruthless Viking. So can big players, once again, great question. Can the big players change or break cycles? So if you look at sort of economic cycles, property cycles, this, that, and the other, what you'll find is they all have kind of happened essentially on schedule. And the only time that, say, the property cycle got changed by a few years was because of World War II. And it was offset by the length of World War II. So it requires something of that scale to sort of fuck with shit a little bit. So I would say that whilst you could then say you can't rule out, say, the market moving into next year, it's still like we need something crazy, something absolutely insane. And so you're better off betting on the most likely thing is that it is just going to be Q4 as usual. That's just like,
for sure. There's
of
no doubt.
course,
There's no doubt.
yeah, it's just that sort of thing. And also, Q4 can still have a 20% drop from wherever we get to in the next week or so before we get there as well. So just keep that in mind. If you were sitting there, I'm going to leverage my entire house and shove it on Bitcoin right now. Well, you might be needing to jump out in a week or two or know that there is a great possibility that we're going to get sort of this weekly cycle reset and some sort of drop. But that can be a great opportunity to buy the dip, because in bull markets, that's kind of how it all goes. So, yes.
Or maybe in November, I start taking the call from Taiwan and a new war starts and the Q4 runs cut off.
Oh, God. Don't say that. Even today, the ETF numbers are just kind of coming in right now. I'll close the show out with this. But so Grayscale Mini, 11 million, Bitwise with 7 million, Arc Capital 37 million, and a Fidelity 27 million. They said IBIT is 0 due to lag, but tomorrow's inflows will be interesting. I've never seen it say that, but then Bitcoin was ripping today. And then did you notice that after market, it started pumping? As soon as 4:30, I text Ben. I was like, I guarantee you the market's closed. These fuckers are going to scam pump the fuck out of this thing. And here we are. So the trading volume was $3.2 billion. So that yesterday was 2.5. So probably some big numbers in Ethereum and also Bitcoin will not be. The Ethereum numbers are still not out, and it's 10 o'clock at night. So some fucking scandalous shit is up. So we'll tell you guys what's going on next week. But really good time. If you've been watching us all year, you know what's going on, and we're gonna be here to the end of the ride. Things are looking good for Q4. We would have to see a serious black swan event to knock this momentum out. So we'll catch you guys next week, 9 p.m. The new show on my channel, I'm going to be back at 9 a.m. in 11 hours on the channel. So we'll be talking about finance stuff. I'm going to review some of these crazy calls from Dave's Ramsey show and give some commentary on that. You're going to love that. It's going to be another Men Win Again episode. So until then, boys, we'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.